Hello, welcome to OnQA. In this session, we are going to talk about the performance testing types and definitions. In the previous session, we have discussed about the load runner and we have discussed about the performance testing objectives. Let's go and talk about what are the different testings that we can do or we can take up as part of the performance testing. And what is the load testing and what is the performance testing and what is the stress testing and what is the difference between all these three testings. So let's go and talk about the performance testing types. First of all, there are three different testings available when we say performance. The first one is the load testing. The second one is the performance testing. The third one is the stress testing. Now let's go and talk about what is load testing. So load testing is the process of testing the application to check if the application supports the required number of users. Example, my application needs to support 10,000 users at a time to log in, to book a flight, or to register, or to do some transaction. And that kind of orientation to check the number of users support is known to be the load testing. I repeat, load testing is the process of testing the application to check if the application supports the required number of user load. Example, as we search, example, if we take Google, can 1 lakh users as they search load runner, can the Google support? So that is called load testing. The second category of the testing is called performance testing. So performance testing is the process of testing the application to check if the application behaves well under the specified conditions, the transactions, speed, process, memory, threads, its, bytes, and meaning. It also depends upon the number of user load on the application. I repeat, performance testing is the process of testing the application to check if the application behaves well with the specified conditions, how many transactions it can support. Can my application support 8 transactions per second? Can my application render the response in 2 seconds? Can my application handle 8 requests per second? What is the memory that it can sustain? How many threads it can accept? What are the its and it can render and support? If 100 users click at the same time on a button, can it sustain? So these are all the different performance parameters. The performance testing is the process of testing the application to cross-check if the application supports and behaves well with the given or specified conditions like a transactions, speed, process, memory, threads, its, and bytes. The next one is the stress testing. The stress testing is the process of testing the application to check if the application behaves well and stable under beyond the limit of the users. Example, as per the performance rule or a performance condition, my application should support 10,000 users so that 10,000 users can log in at a time, still application supports, can register at a time, still application supports, can book something, still application supports. What if there are 10,000 plus users? Can it support? Can it support 12,000 users tomorrow if my business grows? So that kind of orientation is known to be stress testing. Stressing the application to cross-check the limit. Can it sustain? Is it stable beyond the load? So that process of testing is known to be stress testing. So stress testing is the process of testing the application to check the application behaves well and is stable and sustains good even after the limit of the user. So that is so-called stress testing. So we could also define these testings in a different way. Example, load testing is done in order to check if the application fails when the number of users are increased by keeping the system resources as the same. Example, my system resource configurations are 8 GB RAM, 1 TB hard disk. It is same. Can my application support 1000 users? Can my application support 15,000 users? Can my application support 20,000 users? So that kind of orientation is known to be load testing. So please note, whenever we say load testing is equipped or related to the number of users. So if you want define, there are two ways to do. So load testing is the process of testing the application to check if the application supports the required number of users. Or the other way, load testing is the process of testing to check if the application fails when the number of users are increased by keeping the system resources constant. So these two definitions can be valid. Similarly, if you wanted to define for performance testing, the performance testing is the process of measuring the response time, the throughput, the resource utilization, or the characteristics, bytes, memory, throughput, threads, its process, transactions, speed, and much more. To measure all these parameters, we call and we utilize the performance testing. And similarly, if you wanted to talk about stress testing, it is applying more load, stress more to cross check if the application can be sustainable. So these are the different perspectives of the performance testing. So majorly, when we talk about performance testing, there are three different types: the load testing, the performance testing, and stress testing. So load testing is the process of testing the application to check if the application supports the required number of users. Whereas the performance testing is the process of testing the application to check application supports and behaves well with the specified conditions like transactions, speed, process, memory, threads, eats, bytes, and throughput. So these are all the performance parameters. So when we say stress, the process of testing the application to check if the application can be sustainable when we apply the beyond limit of the load. So that's what we call the stress testing. So these all the three possible performance testings, and LoadRunner supports all these three testings. So LoadRunner is an automated performance testing tool that helps us to validate, analyze, identify, and test a variety of applications to measure the bottlenecks, to measure the transactions, to measure the user limit, to measure the response time, to measure the process, the speed, the memory, the threads, the throughput, and much more. So this is all about the different testing types that we have with respect to load runner, with respect to performance testing. So thank you so much. So let me summarize what we have discussed in this session. So in this session, we have concentrated and learnt about the different performance testing types. There are three major different performance testing types we have. The first one is the load testing. The second one is the performance testing. The third one is the stress testing. So load testing is the process of testing the application to cross check if the application behaves with the required number of users. Performance testing is the process of testing the application to cross-check if it supports the required transactions, it renders in a adequate speed, the memory, throughput, byte, and to measure all this within the limits. And stress testing is the process of testing the application to apply more load to cross check if the application is sustainable. So these are the different testing types associated when we talk about the performance testing. So thank you so much. Thanks for watching the video. Please visit earnq.com. There are so many videos, presentations, articles, books, and PDFs with respect to automation, test management, performance testing, and functional testing. So thank you so much and see you again.